Wild freaking day. Welcome back, guys. August 5th. It's funny, it's such a wild day, and GME's only up 4%. But we're going to talk about why it's wild, what's going on. Sub up, like up, comment down. Happy Money sticks around. Oh, man. We got a Twitter you can follow us on at Happy Money YT, as well as a Discord server. Link for those are in the description. Did Twitter Spaces again last night. Some of you guys came out, appreciate that. Not a huge turnout. I think there was some other spaces going on that have more popular people than me, so it's kind of interesting. I had a good chat with Nighthawk on there, but yeah, follow me on here and come chat with me on Twitter Spaces. I was trying to figure out if I should invest in AMC. I didn't really get a whole lot of answers, so if you have answers, come share them. Oh, man. Okay, yeah, so AMC, I guess that's happened since last video. Yeah, AMC, Adam Aaron said they're going to do I'm not even going to get into the details of it, but basically a coin, another ticker, ape ticker, and if you're a shareholder, you get whatever shares of this new ticker. My limited understanding, it's like a convertible loan or convertible note, and it's basically share dilution. It's not initially, but that's what it's going to become. So the shareholders of AMC voted not to dilute the shares, which honestly, if you want to see AMC succeed, that's probably the best thing for the company, to just dilute the shares more, get more money, and to do something good with it. That's if you have a good CEO that's going to do something good with the money. If you have a poor CEO that's going to like make flamboyant purchases of, I don't know, like say a gold mine or something like that, then you wouldn't want share dilution because he's going to make poor choices with the money, and you wouldn't want that as a CEO. So, but if you have a well-run company and they can make good choices like pay down debt with offering shares with more capital, then you would want to offer shares if if there was something to pay down or putting back into the company for growth. That's at some points, companies do need to offer shares to make money, and I think that's a good call, but you have to know what to do with it, and if you don't, then you don't want it. So AMC Apes said we don't want dilution, and so Adam Aaron, it's very actually clever and tricky. I'm not sure if he came up with it on his own or one of his advisors or something, but basically all you apes are going to get a share of this new ticker, and then if you want to be able to convert it to AMC shares of value, basically, because what you're getting is going to have no value. If you want to convert to something of value, you're going to have to vote on share dilution, and if you approve to increase basically the outstanding shares to be able to dilute, then you will be able to convert those ape coins, ape shares, whatever, into AMC shares. Anyways, AMC's ripping up today on it. I don't think it has anything to do with that news. We're looking at cycles, patterns, charts, all that stuff that's repeating, and it's kind of crazy, actually. Wild day. Yeah, huge move here on AMC. And it's, if you look at the charts, I'm not going to do it, but Donro's been sharing it for a while, just how they've been matched up. And AMC over the last, I don't know, a few months has been really behind GME. And now actually you're seeing just even on the market cap, AMC today got up to 11.4 billion, GME's at 12. So it's had a big move up to catch up with GME that's been outpacing. And so now I think they're pretty lined up on a longer time frame. He's even been noticing it just intraday, them diverging, and then at CNS at 3 o'clock, they kind of come together, basically, if they haven't come together before then. And then even yesterday, they actually didn't come together at close, but they came together after hours before market open. It's just freaking wild stuff, this fair market that we invest in. Anyways, SPY kind of choppy, still chopping in this range. So, I mean, I guess you could have made plays to profit on that. I haven't, but I kind of was thinking this was going to happen more or less. It's weird when you have a big down open, you're freaking out, but then it ends up just chilling out. And here we are, just waiting for CPI. This high is maybe higher than that one. Still can't really tell because that's weird back there. On the hourly, it's higher, but that's lower. I don't get that. Anyways, yeah, waiting on CPI for that. A lot of stuff is moving like crazy today. BBBY is one of them. I think this actually partially is from retail. There was a lot of different DD floating around Wall Street Bets, and it's good DD, and I agree with it. And I think I probably will go long on BBBY with shares. I thought about scaling in some today, but I'm gonna wait. Most stuff I'm trying to go long on for like long term. I've basically just held off and just trying to build up cash, or really I should say build up just more position in GME for now, because I do think this is the hedge to the market crash. And once the market crashes, I think even bring down a lot of stuff, even stuff that's come down quite a bit in the last 6-7 months. Not to say that BBY will break through this $4 floor. Who knows? But I think if it does have a rally here, and I think it could have a pretty good little squeeze. The gamma ramp setup for I think like all the way out until January is actually immense. So I'm talking myself into shares. I just should have bought shares today, but I've got a lot of capital in GME, so we'll see. Options would be a good play, but they're so juiced today now, 32%. That shares would be the play, and just holding them. And if you look at the financials on it, actually, it's not as bad as I thought. So 1.4 billion revenue in the last quarter. Year over year, yeah, it's declining, but if you look, I mean, the market cap, even after today's 32% move, it's still half a billion. So that's not just the only thing to look at, but that is something to definitely look at. They're still, they're not making money on that. Their net income is negative, so negative EPS. But yeah, with the possible spin-off and the bye-bye baby thing, and then honestly, if you just don't even want to think about any of it and think, okay, Ryan Cohen's smarter than me and he knows investments, I'll just do it for that, since he has gone long on this. And he went long, I think it was like $15, like in this range, and now it's basically half that. So it's probably a safe investment, I would say, even at this point with shares, and probably even through a crash, because if you do have a crash, maybe it's back up here 15 or 20 or wherever, and then maybe it comes back down, but it might not. Who knows if it'll come back down this far again, depending on how high it is before we have a proper crash. I also want to note that it's kind of interesting. It's had this strong support really since for a long time, for many years. Just right in this range, this 14, kind of 13, just as you see. And then I think this is actually when Ryan Cohen bought in, somewhere around here. And I can't help but think that they just purposefully shorted this thing to crap once he went long. And once he started exposing the BCG consultants and all that, because for this thing to break its floor, like, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because it had earnings and whatever, it was fine after that, and then it's just really flushed through support. So I feel like there's a direct attack on Ryan Cohen, just it flushing through here. So yeah, anyways, that's BBY. I have calls on it, and I've had them for a while. I actually started picking up calls when it was in these single digits. I thought this is probably a good idea. Should have got way more, of course, but they're longer terms. They're January, I guess, not super long term. But yeah, GME today, and then AMChor. Man, what a day! What a crazy day! So they both gapped down on basically the AMC news or earnings, and GME followed suit. So what ended up happening was these pretty big daily candles, since it was a big gap down, especially on AMC. And GME had a big daily candle. So now they're matched back up, I think, more or less on the longer time frame, where they're getting close. And I haven't checked, but I think that they're matched up. The graphs, the charts are actually also market cap matched up, because we're getting very close, and I think they're closely matched. So if that actually might specifically be market cap. I haven't looked at the float and how the math would work out, but that's actually interesting to think about. I've not thought about that. Yeah. Anyways, GME's crazy today. So started off today, of course, it was a gap down, and I'm like, oh man, was yesterday the resistance? Was that the hard resistance? It breaking, it hitting that kind of 40 area? And I wasn't sure. If you recall yesterday's video, I'm like, it wasn't a hard reject. So I was still kind of bullish. But I knew that AMChor was definitely a wrench in there. So I can't remember what I had. Oh, I got puts yesterday, because I was like, this could have been the kind of the reject. And kind of like we saw back here, a reject. But this was different. This was from the split, I think. So I'm not sure if we're going to really see this again. not for a while. We'll get into that in a second though. But basically, yeah. So I wasn't sure if it was a hard reject, and then it gapped down with AMC. I'm like, oh man, this looks like it's dead. This morning opened up and volume was low, very low, lower than it's been for a while, basically. And it was showing some life. The borrow fee went down though too. It went down kind of a noticeable amount. Let's see where it's at now. Yeah, so it's kind of noticeable. It hasn't been this low in weeks, I don't think. So it went from 32 to 30, and of course I have a lot of shares available, which I'm not just like trading on this, because when we've had our big pinches, sometimes the borrow fee's way lower and tons of shares available, and that's when it rallies. So, but recently I've kind of used this as an indicator a bit for the peaks. If this drops a lot at the peaks, I've been basically closing longs. So this went down, the volume went down, so I was like, oh man. But my puts were doing good. But I didn't close them, which is fine. They're protective puts, so they actually add a bunch of buying power, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So if you are out of buying power, it's a nice way to increase your margin, more or less. It gives me margin on GME, one would say. But yeah, anyways, GME just hold on pretty strong. AMC, of course, was kind of recovering much faster than GME, and so I'm like, interesting. And then we have seen GME kind of come out of left field before, where it gaps down and basically all indicators are not pointing to a good day, where you have low volume, borrow fee dropped, and then it's a gap down. And I was like, if it is one of those turnaround days, you'd see it late in the afternoon. I was saying that earlier on this morning in Discord, and like where it could be. It wasn't quite the turnaround day I was expecting with this amount of volume, and just it's still low volume overall, but yeah, this was basically what I was kind of hinting at without it going all the way to 50, because I was like, this thing could have a huge turnaround day, which it ended up having, more or less, and that's a big daily candle, open to close, just because of that gap down. But yeah, volume increased up here, and now we are increasing volume, and today's again more volume, quite a bit more. So yeah, this price action too. So another crazy thing, GME now. So here's CNS closing right here, like at 3. So I actually closed my calls. I didn't trade it very good today, honestly. I was in and out quite a bit, wavering, like trying to figure out what was going on. But I did make money on it, and I got a lot of exposure for next week, which I'm happy about. And some potential shills in Discord made me even more bullish, and I averaged up on them right into close. Whew, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm stoked for next week. I'm stoked for this month. Yeah, so CNS closed. It kind of dumped on that, but really didn't. Held up very well. So GME price action has changed pretty dramatically, and I don't know if I think this is probably to stay. And if you've watched my other videos, I was saying this after a split. GME should trade smoother. It should trade with basically less volatility, and should move slower and basically be easier to trade. And I do still think we are going to see some crazy moves like we've seen on GME, but the price action today, I mean, this was like SLD periods on GME pre-split, and what we've seen since the split has just been very natural. I don't know if it's from obligations from the split or what's going on, but we had a green Friday close last week, a green Monday, and today a huge green basically open to close. And the price action during those days has been very subdued and just much more natural. At any moment, I feel like I'm just going to get rug pulled, especially when you have a big day like today. And it just didn't happen. This is trading, and I think this is just from the added liquidity of that split. We're seeing GME basically. I think we're seeing it grown up. I don't know how else to say it. I think that's what we're starting to see, and that would be great. I was hopeful for it, and then after the split, it was kind of like, it seemed like it was a little bit, but then the volume was still, it's been so low, so that kind of threw me off, because it still was kind of gappy a little bit. But on a day like today with kind of some better volume, it's more evident that, yeah, the increased liquidity and them closing green on a Friday and green on a Monday, I think we're in a big uptrend on GameStop. I don't think this is going to end. Yeah, this is very, very unusual. I think there's obligations due, and I think they're having to do them. I think they're having to take care of them. So might not have a violent 10-day move like this next week, but yeah, I think we have to basically accept this new grown-up kid. This is GME 2.0, and I'm hoping it sticks around. I'm hoping this isn't just a short little period where we see that and then we're back to, you know, crazy dumps and rug pulls. But so far it's not seeming like that, and it's seeming like this added liquidity is we're actually seeing it play out, which is awesome. Super awesome. There's Rev, by the way. So squeezy stuff, hot money's going around crazy. Redbox had an amazing pull flag set up and just went wild in the last few minutes. I do have shares of Rev. I'm not excuse me, not getting in on Redbox. Some of the other plays I mentioned from this week I've closed out. I'm trying to reduce some of the exposure, which is nice though. It's so strange playing other options. I've not really played other tickers for a while, like really played them, and they've moved so much nicer. Like it doesn't just drop 50% in the day that you buy it. Like you can actually take a small loss on it. It's great. Anyways, GME today closing this high with this increased volume, green over the 9 moving average, bullish MACD, weekly candle basically breaking out. It could be a huge week next week, and just carry on throughout August, ramping up into OPEX and the SLD period, and then on into September. And I don't know. This is kind of wild already. The only thing that I'm skeptical about is really just resistances, and at this point it was that 40-41, but we actually did break it today. I mean, it wicked over it. But maybe that's not something to really even think about anymore with GameStop because of the liquidity and how it's trading smooth. And now that I'm looking at actually on the daily, it's built a cup. We've got a cup right there. So maybe we'll see a little cool down on Monday before rip. Monday, Tuesday. Linux's second hype day was Monday. The second was his first one, which didn't really happen. And if not the second, he thought the 8th. And if neither of those, he's like during OPEX in August. So he's got his bases covered, but I'm still hyped for Monday. And probably Tuesday too, of course, because I mean GME, this change, this was actually at 39, now it's 40. So if it closed above 40, that's a ton of calls in the money. I think there's like 15,000 to look. So that's definitely setting up a bit of a gamma ramp. Where are we at? 18,000 calls on 40 that are in the money. Wow. So that's a lot. Oh man. Yeah, so let me show you guys how I trade it. So we've got the shares on here still. Again, I'm some shares I have started swing trading just because my financial situation doesn't allow me to carry a $500,000 position in shares and never make money on it. I am still carrying a large amount that I'm trying to get to long term. But yeah, since I bought in down here, I actually you can find the buys and sells on Webull on the mobile app. I can probably do it on here, but it'll tell you where you bought and where you sold, which is kind of cool. But yeah, since I bought in here, definitely haven't sold, have the margin shares, have all that. So 400 on here. Of course, these are up nicely. I don't even know what these are up, but yeah, those are up nice. And then on our margin account, it actually hit 6 figures, which is the first time I've seen that on the long term. I say margin account, it's actually my long term. So that hit, we're at 102K on here now. And I mean, a lot of that's thanks to GME, because this is a very slow moving account because it's, it's long term. So it's not options or anything like that. It just slowly moves up and down. Tesla's the thing that makes it the most volatile, my Tesla long holdings. Oh, I guess it's both. So it's my IRA and my individual. But yeah, so here's the GME position in here. These are up 11K since I bought them, just whatever. I don't know. I don't even know when we bought these. Here's my price on it, 34. So yeah, these are all in margin, and 30 grand of this, well, 25 basically I realized, and so I was able to basically add 25K to the margin that I already had on there. So my position this time was even bigger. And then E-Trade, of course, these are the ones I'm marinating right here. So got 1500 on here, or no, sorry, there's these 500. All right, so the protective put, let me tell you guys really quick. So basically my buying power, say, I think it was at like 300 at one point today. And then I have these shares in here, right? So when I buy puts, I'm agreeing to sell my shares at that price. So what that does is they tie those puts to my shares, and it's called a protective put. So basically that frees up a bunch of margin though. So when I bought 5 puts for 37 strike, I agreed to sell. This is my understanding. I could be a little off on this, but I think this is right. I agreed to sell those shares at $37 by next Friday. And so what that did is basically just freed up all that money, so I could YOLO. But yeah, that's kind of the sketchy way to basically get more buying power. So it bumped my buying power, and I've done this before, I've just not explained it. It bumped my buying power up to 16k. But the sketchy thing is if what you're using that for, if it goes against you, then you kind of get screwed and you end up actually having to sell those shares. Because I could probably sell it now, but when I was down on my plays and I just wanted to check and I went to try and sell the puts, it wouldn't let me close it. It said you have insufficient funds, which you're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Those are long puts. But it does, because they're protected puts, and you've basically you're negative if you sell them. So kind of the cool thing with that, if you want to get real YOLO degen. But yeah, so my trading day was a little off just because we were right in that teeter-totter zone, so I didn't quite know what was going on. But Peloton, I closed out of those, I think about break even, which I'm pumped on. That thing will probably rip now, but whatever. And then yeah, so I sold the ones this morning for a loss, the 42 call, when the volume was low, the borrow fee was low, and we gapped down. Not right at the low. I mean, I waited for a big bounce, but I still was a big loss. Wish I held them, of course. And then bought back in, and then sold, and then bought back in and sold. So I scalped some today and made back some of it. Sometimes, yeah, that's the over trading that hurts. So over trading today definitely hurt me. If I just wasn't even at my computer and just came back at the end of the day, I would have been better off. Probably realized I probably would have been better off, but if I didn't make it before the closing bell, I wouldn't have had as much exposure to next week, which is really what I wanted. Because of today's close being so strong, I want exposure to next week. Fingers crossed though that today wasn't a hard rejection, but I don't think it was. That thing held up so good into close. So anyways, closed ASML for a small gain, I think. Didn't like the chart, kind of turned against me a little bit. And here's GME. Open up Express. That thing hasn't run yet. Chart looks nice. It's been in the basket of meme stocks. I don't want to call it meme stock. The basket of shorted stocks. So maybe get some exposure on that. I already have BBBY. So basically what I'm left with for next week on Gamestop calls, I've got just 45 strike calls. I had 43s. That's what I was trading mostly today. Closed those out, rolled them up to a 45. I think next week could be large. Might not come on Monday. If Monday is even just flat to like not a rug pull, I think we'll be good for next week still, or maybe the week after. But yeah, we'll see. And then yeah, these protected puts. So if it does come down, I will have some exposure to the downside there. Datadog plays are up. A lot of the stuff I sold today, I was up on. It seems like the market might come down a little bit next week in anticipation for CPI on Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday might be kind of red. GME is not really carrying. It's in its own pace with AMChor right now. So, excuse me. BBBY calls. These are the ones I've got a while ago. Of course, just a few of them. I was planning on doing poor man cover calls on them. So that's shorting calls on these calls. So I have 3 long calls. I'll basically be able to sell 3 calls or covered calls on these. And I'll do it once it's done rallying, and that it might be $20 before it's in rally. I don't know. Probably should get shares at BBBY. BlackBerry rallied a little bit. Airbnbs are still up. So some of these longer plays, I maybe should have trimmed out more. I trimmed out some today just in anticipation of a down week next week. But if CPI comes in and it's basically lower than expectations, I think the market will rally. But I believe at this point they're pricing in 8.8%, which is much lower than last reading, which is sketchy to me because I don't think it's going to be that low. So if it's worse than expectations, it's quite possible the market dumps. And maybe the end of this bear market rally, I'm not sure. but this video's gone on plenty long. I'm hyped. Maybe I'll see you guys on Twitter. Thanks for watching. See you on Discord. Peace out.